In a world that celebrates strength, speed and success, softness is often mistaken for weakness. Yet, the true measure of strength lies not in how hard we become, but in how deeply we feel and how gently we live. When the world turns rough, it's easy to build walls around the heart. But those walls, while keeping pain out, also keep love and joy from entering. To live with a soft heart in a hard world is not a failure. It is a rebellion, a conscious act of courage. A soft heart is not a sign of fragility, but of immense power. Sensitivity to life allows a person to experience its full depth, the beauty, the pain and the truth that lies beneath both. When you can feel life intensely, you connect with its essence in a way the hardened never can. It is easy to become numb and call it strength, but true strength lies in the courage to remain open despite knowing the world can hurt you. The heart that feels is the heart that truly lives. Pain is inevitable, but how you allow it to shape you determines the quality of your being. When pain turns into bitterness, it robs you of your inner freedom. Hardness may protect you for a moment, but it eventually isolates you from life's richness. Pain should polish your awareness, not poison your peace. The more you resist it, the deeper it settles within you. But when you face pain consciously, it refines your soul and leaves behind wisdom instead of scars. In a world filled with provocation, the ability to respond with compassion is the mark of true mastery. People will disappoint you, situations will test you, but reacting in anger only deepens suffering. Compassion disarms cruelty and transforms even the harshest encounters into lessons. It is not about being passive, it is about choosing a higher response that rises above the chaos. To respond with understanding instead of reaction is to reclaim your power and preserve your softness. Softness thrives when one stays in touch with the natural flow of life. The earth, the trees, the rivers, they all move with grace and surrender, never in resistance. The human heart was designed to flow the same way. When you try to control people, situations or outcomes, your heart stiffens under the weight of expectations. Life cannot be tamed into obedience. It must be trusted. Surrender does not mean weakness, it is the wisdom of allowing life to unfold without constant interference. Forgiveness, authenticity and gratitude are the foundations of a soft heart. Holding grudges or pretending to be unaffected only hardens the soul. To feel deeply, to forgive sincerely, and to live truthfully are the signs of a powerful being. Gratitude melts away the layers of resentment and opens the heart to abundance. When you live with awareness and gentleness, your presence itself becomes a healing force in a hardened world. The soft heart does not break, it bends, transforms and keeps beating with unshakable grace. Pain is an inseparable part of life, a visitor that comes to every heart without warning. No one escapes it, but what matters is how we receive it. Some allow pain to deepen their understanding of life, while others let it rot into bitterness. When the mind keeps replaying hurt and disappointment, it begins to build a wall around the heart. That wall may feel like protection, but it becomes a prison that traps peace and joy inside. Pain was never meant to destroy, it was meant to awaken. Bitterness is a silent poison. It grows slowly, feeding on unresolved wounds and unspoken emotions. The more you hold on to anger, the heavier your soul becomes. You start to see life through the lens of your suffering, distrusting others, and expecting pain before it arrives. This inner corrosion makes even small joys feel meaningless. A heart that once knew tenderness begins to lose its natural warmth, and in trying to protect itself, it forgets how to love. To rise above pain, one must understand its purpose. Pain carries lessons that ease cannot teach. It breaks illusions, humbles pride and sharpens perception. Instead of resisting it, observe it. Let it burn away your false identities and self-deception. When pain is met with awareness, it transforms from a wound into wisdom. Every ache holds a message, but only a quiet, attentive heart can hear it. Hardness is a choice, not a consequence. Life may strike you again and again, but how you respond defines your inner quality. You can choose to become bitter and closed, or you can choose to stay soft and open. The second choice takes more courage because it means allowing yourself to feel everything fully. A soft heart is not naive, it is wise enough to understand that softness is not weakness, but a conscious decision to remain alive and compassionate even after being hurt. The key is to let pain polish you, not harden you. Let every wound refine your strength instead of reducing your spirit. When you release bitterness, you make space for clarity and growth. The heart that forgives easily, that feels deeply, and that continues to love even after breaking, that heart is truly indestructible. The world cannot crush a being who has learned to turn pain into purity rather than poison. Pain is an inseparable part of life, a visitor that comes to every heart without warning. No one escapes it, but what matters is how we receive it. Some allow pain to deepen their understanding of life, while others let it rot into bitterness. When the mind keeps replaying hurt and disappointment, it begins to build a wall around the heart. That wall may feel like protection, but it becomes a prison that traps peace and joy inside. Pain was never meant to destroy, it was meant to awaken. Bitterness is a silent poison. It grows slowly, feeding on unresolved wounds and unspoken emotions. The more you hold on to anger, the heavier your soul becomes. You start to see life through the lens of your suffering, distrusting others and expecting pain before it arrives. This inner corrosion makes even small joys feel meaningless. A heart that once knew tenderness begins to lose its natural warmth, and in trying to protect itself, it forgets how to love. To rise above pain, one must understand its purpose. Pain carries lessons that ease cannot teach. It breaks illusions, humbles pride, and sharpens perception. Instead of resisting it, observe it. Let it burn away your false identities and self-deception. When pain is met with awareness, it transforms from a wound into wisdom. Every ache holds a message, but only a quiet, attentive heart can hear it. Hardness is a choice, not a consequence. Life may strike you again and again, but how you respond defines your inner quality. You can choose to become bitter and closed, or you can choose to stay soft and open. The second choice takes more courage because it means allowing yourself to feel everything fully. A soft heart is not naive, it is wise enough to understand that softness is not weakness, but a conscious decision to remain alive and compassionate even after being hurt. The key is to let pain polish you, not harden you. Let every wound refine your strength instead of reducing your spirit. When you release bitterness, you make space for clarity and growth. The heart that forgives easily, that feels deeply, and that continues to love even after breaking, that heart is truly indestructible. The world cannot crush a being who has learned to turn pain into purity rather than poison. Nature has always been the greatest teacher of balance and softness. Every element of it moves with silent grace, never resisting the flow of existence. The river does not struggle against the rocks in its path, it simply finds another way and continues to move. The trees do not fight the storm, they bend and survive. The sun rises without hesitation and sets without regret. When you observe nature deeply, you realize that softness is not passivity, but alignment with life's rhythm. Everything functions effortlessly because nothing in nature resists what is. Human beings, unlike nature, constantly resist life. They try to control situations, manipulate outcomes, and demand that life bends to their will. This endless resistance hardens the heart and exhausts the mind. When one loses touch with nature, they also lose touch with their own natural flow. The more disconnected you become from the earth beneath your feet, the more your emotions and thoughts become tangled. You begin to live in friction rather than harmony. The simple act of watching a sunset, walking barefoot on the ground, or sitting by a flowing river can restore that lost connection. Nature operates in complete acceptance. It never complains, never questions why something happens. The rain falls where it must, the wind blows where it is needed, and every seed knows when to bloom. There is no resistance, no resentment, no attachment to how things should be. That same intelligence runs through you, but the noise of the modern mind drowns it out. When you spend time in nature, you silence that noise and start to feel life as it truly is, not as you imagine it. The more you observe its patterns, the more you understand that surrender is not defeat but wisdom. Being close to nature cleanses the heart of its unnecessary weight. The air feels lighter, the body relaxes, and the mind slows down enough to notice the present moment. In that silence, something soft begins to awaken, an awareness that does not demand, a peace that does not depend on anything. You start to experience life not through tension but through trust. The heart, once tight with control, begins to open again, just as the morning sun opens the petals of a flower. The more you align yourself with nature's simplicity, the more your own life begins to flow without force. You stop chasing and start allowing. You stop demanding and start receiving. The soft heart is like water. It adapts, it nurtures, and it endures. Nature shows that real strength is not found in resistance but in surrender. When you learn to move with life instead of against it, hardness fades and harmony takes its place. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of awareness. In the chaos of life, people constantly chase noise. Noise of ambition, comparison and distraction. They fill every silence with endless activity, fearing what might surface in quiet moments. Yet it is within stillness that the heart begins to heal and the mind becomes clear. A restless being can never see truth as it is because their inner world is in constant turbulence. When you learn to be still, you begin to hear the subtle rhythms of life that the noise once drowned out. Silence has a language that the mind cannot interpret, only the heart can understand. When you sit quietly and allow thoughts to pass without clinging to them, a deeper awareness begins to rise. That awareness does not come through effort, it comes through surrender. The practice of inner stillness is not about escaping life, but about entering it fully without distortion. It reveals how unnecessary most of your fears, judgments and anxieties truly are. In stillness, you see that the storms outside are only reflections of the storms within. The mind, when uncontrolled, becomes a storm of endless chatter. Every thought pulls you in a different direction, leaving no space for peace. But when you bring your attention inward and anchor it in your breath, the storm slowly subsides. Your emotions begin to settle and your perception sharpens like a polished mirror. You start to respond to life instead of reacting to it. That space between a thought and a response, that gap of awareness, is where freedom is born. When stillness becomes a part of your life, softness naturally returns to the heart. You no longer act from compulsion but from clarity. You see people not through judgment but through understanding. Anger loses its grip, fear loses its power, and the need to prove yourself dissolves. A still mind does not carry unnecessary weight, it moves lightly through life, untouched by chaos. In that state, even the most difficult moments lose their ability to harden you. Stillness is the most powerful form of action because it aligns you with life's intelligence. It is not about doing less, It is about doing what truly matters with full awareness. In silence, you reconnect with the essence that never changes, the calm center behind all movement. When you live from that center, no insult can shake you, no loss can break you, and no fear can imprison you. A calm heart is an unbreakable heart, and in that unshakable stillness, your gentleness becomes your greatest strength. Control is born out of fear. The fear of uncertainty, the fear of failure, and the fear of not being enough. People cling to control because they believe it will give them safety, yet it only breeds tension and suffering. The more one tries to shape every outcome, the more restless and anxious life becomes. Control is an illusion that traps the mind in constant struggle. Life has never promised to obey your plans, it has only asked you to move with awareness through whatever unfolds. When you learn to release control, you discover peace that no amount of power can give. Resistance is the root of inner hardness. Every time you fight against what is happening, you create conflict within yourself. The heart becomes rigid, the mind becomes tired, and the body begins to carry the weight of unyielding expectations. Acceptance does not mean you stop striving, it means you stop fighting the nature of existence. When the river flows, it does not demand a straight path. It flows through rocks, curves, and falls with grace. Life is the same, it moves where it must, and only those who move with it remain at ease. Surrender is often misunderstood as weakness, but it is the highest expression of strength. To surrender is to trust the intelligence that governs life itself. The heart that surrenders does not resist pain, nor does it cling to pleasure. It simply experiences everything fully and lets go when the moment passes. This way of living removes the burden of control, for you no longer carry the responsibility of forcing life to align with your desires. You begin to act consciously, not compulsively, allowing life to reveal its rhythm. When you stop controlling others, your relationships transform. You no longer demand that people behave, think, or feel according to your expectations. You give them the space to be as they are, and in doing so, you also free yourself. The need to control comes from insecurity, while love is born from trust. A heart that loves without control grows in depth and purity. It learns that people do not belong to you, nor do outcomes, everything is just passing through your experience for a moment. Letting go of control brings a deep sense of alignment with existence. The mind becomes lighter, the emotions become clear, and life begins to flow effortlessly. You no longer waste energy on resistance, instead, you use it to create, to love, to grow. The universe moves in its own time and order. Your task is not to command it, but to move in harmony with it. When you trust the flow of life, you become part of its perfection. Control builds walls, surrender builds wings. Forgiveness is not a favor you grant to others, it is a liberation you offer to yourself. When you hold on to resentment, it festers like poison in your system, clouding your thoughts and weighing down your spirit. Anger and hatred might feel like strength in the moment, but they drain you from within, stealing your clarity and peace. The refusal to forgive binds you to the past, keeping your wounds open and your heart restless. The moment you forgive, you reclaim the energy that bitterness once consumed, and you begin to breathe freely again. The act of forgiveness requires immense courage because it demands the death of the ego. The ego thrives on being right, on proving others wrong, on replaying pain to justify its sense of self. But the more you feed it, the more distant you grow from your inner freedom. Forgiveness shatters that illusion of control. It dissolves the need to win every emotional battle and allows truth to emerge without resistance. You forgive not because others deserve it, but because your peace deserves it. To forgive frequently means to live without collecting emotional debris. Every day brings encounters that may hurt or disappoint. And if you store each one in your heart, you soon become burdened with unnecessary weight. Letting go does not mean forgetting, it means refusing to carry what no longer serves you. Forgiveness cleanses the soul of residue left by anger, allowing new experiences to enter untainted by the past. A mind purified by forgiveness becomes sharper, calmer, and more receptive to life. True forgiveness is not about reconciling with others, it is about reconciling with yourself. It is about… to be authentic means to stop seeking validation from others. The more you crave approval, the more you shift to fit expectations, and the further you drift from who you really are. Authenticity demands the courage to stand alone if needed, to express your truth even when it is uncomfortable. It requires the willingness to be misunderstood, judged, or even rejected, because truth is rarely convenient. When you stop pretending, you stop fearing. Only the false self is afraid, the true self has nothing to defend. When you are authentic, your presence itself becomes real and powerful. People feel it, nature responds to it, and life begins to flow with greater ease. Pretending drains energy while truth restores it. You no longer need to remember what mask to wear, because there are no masks left. Your heart becomes transparent, not fragile, but strong through honesty. In that clarity, life becomes lighter, deeper, and infinitely more meaningful, because you are finally living as you, not as the idea of you that the world demanded. It takes a conscious being to stay tender and kind despite the chaos. The world does not need more armored hearts, it needs hearts that can still feel, forgive and love even when everything around seems unloving, to keep your heart soft in a hard world. That is the highest form of strength. The people you surround yourself with shape your inner world more than you realize. Every word you hear, every action you witness, and every emotion you absorb leaves a subtle imprint on your consciousness. Being around harsh, negative, or judgmental people hardens the heart over time, making you defensive and restless. But when you stay close to gentle souls who live with sincerity, kindness, and awareness, your energy begins to align with theirs. The company you keep either nourishes your inner peace or slowly drains it. Choosing the right circle is not selfishness, it is wisdom. Energy is contagious whether it comes through words, emotions, or silence. When you spend time with people who carry bitterness, anger, or constant drama, that energy seeps into your system. Their fears become yours, their restlessness infects your calm, and soon you start reacting like them without realizing it. Similarly, when you are around those who live consciously, who choose understanding over judgment and peace over conflict, your own energy begins to settle. The environment you live in is like soil. What grows within you depends entirely on its quality. Gratitude is the art of seeing what is already complete rather than what is missing. Most people live in constant pursuit of more, believing that satisfaction lies in the next achievement, the next possession, or the next approval. This endless chase blinds them to the silent abundance surrounding them every moment. The air they breathe, the sunlight that touches their face, the food on their table, and the people who care for them are miracles they have stopped noticing. Gratitude is not born from wealth or comfort, it arises from awareness. When the eyes are open to life's gifts, even the simplest moment becomes sacred. Resentment thrives in the absence of gratitude. When you focus only on what you lack, life feels unfair and heavy. Comparison fuels anger, jealousy, and disappointment. But when you shift your attention to what you already have, those emotions lose their grip. Gratitude dissolves bitterness like sunlight melting frost. It replaces complaint with acceptance and frustration with peace. you stop demanding from life and start celebrating it. This transformation does not come through external change, but through an inner shift of perception that alters how you experience everything.